I'm Courtney.
The boardroom fell silent as I stood up, my voice steady as I declared, "Richard Thompson, you're fired." The words echoed through the room, and I watched as the man who had callously fired my father 10 years ago stared at me in disbelief. His face turned a deep shade of red, and he sputtered, trying to find the words to defend himself. It all started 10 years ago, when I was just a young intern at Thompson Enterprises. My father, Henry, had worked there for over 25 years, a loyal and dedicated employee. But one day, he was unceremoniously escorted out of the building by security, all because of budget cuts, they said. It was a lie, of course. I'd seen the emails while filing documents for HR. They'd replaced him with the CEO's nephew, a fresh out of college kid with no real experience, just the right last name. After my father's firing, our family's life changed. Dad, a gentle and hard working man, struggled to make ends meet. He took a job as a middle school science teacher, barely scraping by. I was determined to do something, but I knew I had to be patient. I started my own company, Eclipse Industries, in my small apartment. I worked day and night, avoiding the spotlight. I didn't want any press interviews, no public appearances. I let the world think Eclipse Industries was just another faceless corporation. This anonymity gave me the freedom to build my empire without interference. Fast forward to today. I sat in my private jet, reviewing the final acquisition papers for Thompson Enterprises. My assistant, Lily, informed me that the board meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. The next day. The acquisition had been carried out through shell companies, so Thompson Enterprises thought they were being bought by Eclipse Industries. As the jet descended into New York, I could see the Thompson Enterprises building. It was a towering structure, a symbol of the power and arrogance of the man who had ruined my father's life. I smiled, imagining the look on Richard Thompson's face when he realized who was really behind the acquisition. The next morning, I dressed in a simple black suit, looking every bit the corporate executive. When we arrived at the building, I received a text from Dad. He was at the hotel I'd recommended, still confused about why I'd asked him to come to New York. I assured him he'd understand soon. The security guard barely glanced at my ID badge. To him, I was just another corporate representative. I took the elevator to the 50th floor, a place I'd visited countless times as an intern. As I entered the boardroom, I saw Richard Thompson sitting at the head of the table, laughing with his executives, the same laugh I'd heard when he'd joked about getting rid of dead weight after firing my father. When I announced that we were waiting for one more person, and Dad walked in looking bewildered, Richard's face went pale. I then pulled out my chair at the head of the table and calmly explained that as the owner of Eclipse Industries and now Thompson Enterprises, I had the authority to make personnel changes. I opened my briefcase and distributed the documents, showing the board that Eclipse Industries was worth billions. Richard refused to believe it at first, but the evidence was right in front of him. After firing Richard, I watched as security escorted him out. He threatened me, saying I had no idea how to run the company. But I just smiled. I'd learned everything about what not to do by watching him. The news of the takeover spread like wildfire through the building. By lunchtime, everyone knew that the quiet woman in the black suit was their new boss. The press started calling, but I set their messages aside. I had more important things to do, like reorganizing the company. I called a company-wide meeting to announce my plans. I told the employees that Thompson Enterprises, soon to be renamed Courtney Industries, would implement comprehensive employee protections. No more arbitrary firings, no more nepotism. I outlined profit, sharing, educational benefits, and on-site child care facilities. An executive questioned how we could afford it, and I explained that by valuing our employees as much as our profits, we could make it work. Richard held a press conference, trying to spin the story as a personal vendetta, but I didn't bother to respond. Instead, I sent out an email announcing immediate raises for all support staff, funded by canceling executive bonuses. In the following days, I restructured departments, eliminated redundant positions, and implemented new policies. Some of the old guard executives resigned in protest, but I saw it as an opportunity to promote those who actually did the work. A week after the takeover, Dad found me in my office, holding a newspaper with my picture on the front page. The article called me the Shadow CEO who had built an empire in secret for revenge. He asked if that was really what it was about. I told him that when they fired him, I learned about the nature of power. I became invisible while building something they couldn't ignore. I also told him about the employee education program I was naming after him, the Henry Education Initiative, which would offer fully funded college scholarships for employees' children and a special grant program for middle school science teachers. He hugged me, tears in his eyes, saying he was proud of me not just for my success, but for how I was using it. Just then, Lily rushed in to tell me that Richard was downstairs, demanding to see me. I checked the security feed and saw him, red-faced and disheveled. I told her to send him up. When he burst into my office, he ranted about me taking what he'd built. I calmly reminded him that he'd inherited the company and that his only achievement was his golf handicap. I also showed him that Eclipse Industries had acquired his so-called powerful friends in the industry. After he left, Dad asked if it was necessary. I said it was. He needed to understand that the power he'd abused was gone. And this was just the beginning. I was ready to build a company that truly valued its employees, a company that would make a difference. The quiet intern had finally found her voice, and I had a long way to go.